well, speaking of political messaging and campaigning and knowing who your target audience is, well, our next story is still and also about political messaging. Manfred Weber and Alexander Stubb are competing to be the EPP's candidate for Commission President, and they're making their pitches in new campaign videos.
My village is Wildenberg, a small village in Lower Bavaria, and there I know everybody who is living in this small village. I was starting my activities in the youth organization of the Catholic Church and also the youth organization of the CSU, my party in Bavaria. There I experienced what it means to stand for an idea, to argue for an idea, and to fight for an idea. I was a guitar player in a band. I stood in the first row of the band, and that was for me an interesting experience. To be connected to people, to listen to them, to look in the eyes of the people, and to get an idea what they want to have next.
We're not a movie with written lines. Still we're chasing the perfect pretty life. Where are you going? What you try to find, like it's greener on the other side. It's like we're stressing out to find some peace of mind. It's a story of our time.
I can say there's a lot of reaction here as those videos were playing.
The music is the best bit of that Alex Stubb video.
This is what you do for a living.
No, this is not what I do.
I mean campaign videos. So yeah, the message and
okay. So look, the thing that we just take a step back when we talk about the Spitzenkandidat process. What we're talking about is the person who ends up being the head of the European Commission based on which party gets the most, or which bloc gets the most votes in the European elections. So it's a weird mishmash of voting across the board in Europe for one person, and it's not actually a presidential contest. But with
and they ultimately may not end up getting
and they
the
ultimately
position.
may not end it. But with that in mind, of course, you have to do a personality-based campaign. And what I would say from this, and certainly in relation to Alexander Stubb's video, is no personality comes through whatsoever. He is literally voiceless in his video. He doesn't speak, which I think is a real shame because I like Stubb. I think he's actually quite dry and quirky, but he doesn't speak. The video is a sort of composite of messages that I'm not sure what we're meant to take away, which is potentially, oh, we're better when we're together, even if we fight. Next generation of Europe, and yet at the same time, what do we see? Stock shots of Stubb getting out of a car, shaking hands with men in grey suits in Brussels, looking a bit lost at a press conference. I think he's meant to look soulful.
I mean, is the point here to say I'm one of the ordinary people? I'm one of you. Is that the point?
I think so.
I don't know. What are you reading from?
I mean, certainly from Weber's video, that is most definitely the message he wants to put across. It's not the image that most of us have of Weber, that he's a man of the people. So this is giving another perspective. But of course, we have to remember that these videos are for the EPP. They are for the EPP who are deciding who between them they will choose as their Spitzenkandidat. What you would like to see going further, of course, is an appeal to a team that the Spitzenkandidat from whichever political group it is, the team that they can bring forward with them. Because I think, as Laura said, it's virtually impossible to have that personality sell at a European level. So that the emphasis after the Spitzenkandidat is chosen has to be on what the team looks like.
The strange thing is, from the outset, if you would have asked me, I would have argued that Alex Stubb's video would have been so much more impressive. He is much more media savvy than Manfred Weber has been. And actually, watching those videos, it's the complete reverse.
Right.
Interestingly, it is what Manfred Weber needed to do because people don't really know who he is. They don't know anything about him. And this is an attempt to try and sell him as a person. It's a little bit old-fashioned, given the political world in which we're in at the moment. However, I think it's important. Alex Stubb's attempt was, I mean, unbelievably bad. Well, I mean, it was engaging in no level. You got no sense of who he was. He's a little bit more familiar.
Well, I was also going to say, what it comes down to is who is this ultimately for? And when you look at Manfred Weber's video, his whole story, which is the who am I story, and they all have to do that, and I was actually quite surprised that he did, but it's the who am I story, and it's targeted at that small C conservative audience. Who am I? Where do I come from? I come from Bavaria, which has been the flashpoint for so much of Europe. Words like safety, comfort, identity, all of these things are massively playing into this video. It's designed to reassure and comfort. Hell, you even have him running in the woods, which is a symbol of identity in German.
Is this the kind of communication that European politicians should be engaging in fact, moving forward?
I think in terms of explaining the person behind the policymaker, if you like, then yeah, absolutely.
I mean, would you like to communicate who you are when you're campaigning?
I mean, yeah, I try to.
But I think it's actually quite a bold move on the part of Weber, because this is a 2-minute video and he doesn't actually mention the EU and European politics until about 1 minute 20 in. So he's very much doing the play on who he is and the identity.
Which I think, which is important, because
absolutely,
I mean, Alex Stubb
we
does
need
have some,
more of that.
He has got some form of identity because he was a former prime minister. Manfred Weber doesn't. And if he keeps making videos like this, he might actually make some impact.
Address the balance.
This isn't novel. Sorry, just to finish. This isn't new. You know, everybody knows that Angela Merkel was the chemist's daughter of a vicar in the east of Germany. Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, son of a Pakistani immigrant bus driver. Everybody has this story of where they're coming from. I think it's brilliant that they're bringing this now into European political campaigning, but of course it can't be the only thing.